Chapter 10 describes the period after Genghis Khan had unified the Mongol tribes, focusing on the administration of neighboring states and the beginning of cultural exchange. It highlights the subjugation of the Uyghur state and the forest-dwelling peoples, including the Kori, Tumd, Oirad, and Kyrgyz tribes. This chapter follows the defeat of the Nayman and Karat tribes, showing the expansion of Genghis Khan's empire and the foundation for cultural growth. After defeating the major tribes, Genghis Khan planned to assert control over nearby western territories. He consulted with his closest allies, sending envoys to offer surrender before engaging in warfare. This policy reflected his wisdom and tolerance, emphasizing rule through respect and prestige rather than force. The first step was the subjugation of the Uyghur state. At the time, the Uyghurs were illiterate, cultured people engaged in trade and following Buddhism. Their ruler, Idakut or Barjik Artijan, recognizing Genghis Khan's strength, chose to surrender peacefully. He sent envoys to offer tribute and pledged loyalty to Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan received them with respect, maintaining the Uyghurs as vassal rulers and collecting tribute. The subjugation of the Uyghurs was highly significant. They possessed the Uyghur script, and Genghis Khan ordered Uyghur scholars, including Tata Tunga, to develop a script for the Mongol language. This marked the beginning of literacy among the Mongols, later forming the foundation for governance, legal records, and historical writing. Uyghur artisans and merchants influenced Mongol culture, accelerating cultural exchange. Genghis Khan also ensured religious freedom, respecting the Uyghurs' Buddhist faith, establishing a precedent for ruling over multi-religious peoples. Next, Genghis Khan brought the forest peoples under his control, the Kori, Tumd, Oirad, and Kyrgyz tribes. These groups inhabited the Altai and Sayan mountains and the Siberian taiga, engaged in hunting and animal husbandry, and fielded strong mounted forces. Some leaders resisted, but Genghis Khan's army quickly defeated them. The Kori Tumd leaders surrendered, offered tribute, and were incorporated, as were the Oirad and Kyrgyz peoples. During these campaigns, Subutai and Jib distinguished themselves, employing tactics suited to forested terrain and rapid movement. The forest people's hunting skills and strong horses strengthened the Mongol army, while their territories, furs, and livestock became valuable spoils. Genghis Khan integrated these peoples into his forces, using their expertise to augment his army. These conquests expanded the Mongol Empire, securing western frontiers and opening avenues for trade and cultural exchange. The Uyghur script provided a new opportunity for literacy. Genghis Khan is said to have remarked, "A nation without a script has no history." By incorporating the Uyghurs and forest peoples, the Mongols became more cultured, gaining extensive lands and preparing for campaigns into China and Central Asia. This chapter vividly illustrates Mongol policies of tolerance, cultural exchange, the introduction of writing, administrative organization, and the collection of tribute. Genghis Khan's wise leadership, respect for religious freedom, recognition of merit, and establishment of cultural foundations are fully depicted. The surrender of the Uyghur Idakut, the introduction of the script, the forest people's campaigns and integration, and the opening of trade routes are described with emotional depth. Chapter 10 represents the cultural and administrative consolidation of the Mongol Empire, showing Genghis Khan's intelligent strategy in governing newly subdued peoples. Following these events, the empire became stronger, more sophisticated, and prepared for major campaigns into China and Central Asia. Chapter 11 narrates the greatest period of Genghis Khan's life, depicting the military campaigns that changed world history. It focuses on the conquests of western Khitangat, the Jin dynasty Jurchens in northern China, and Khwarezm, the Central Asian Islamic state, as well as the campaigns of Subutai and Jib reaching Europe, including victories over Russian principalities. This chapter follows the subjugation of the Uyghurs and forest peoples, illustrating the Mongol Empire at the height of its expansion. After unifying the tribes and bringing neighboring states under control, Genghis Khan turned his attention to external conquests. Consulting with his closest allies and the leaders of the decimal system, he decided first to attack Western Xia Tangut. The Tangut state was strong, with well-fortified cities and organized armies. However, Genghis Khan's mounted troops, swift and mobile, defeated them in numerous battles, forcing Emperor Li Angquan to surrender. This conquest provided tribute, artisans, and treasures, and opened a path into northern China. The campaign demonstrated Mongol siege techniques, including city encirclement and the destruction of irrigation channels. Next came the war against the Jin dynasty in northern China. The Jin controlled vast territory, with the formidable capital at Yanjing, modern Beijing. In 1211, Genghis Khan led his army into northern China, employing feigned retreats, skilled archers, and intelligence to defeat the Jin forces. By 1215, Beijing was besieged, captured, and set on fire, yielding enormous treasure and artisans. Although the Jin surrendered, the campaign established the Mongols as a dominant force in China. The Mongols incorporated Chinese craftsmanship, technology, and administrative expertise into their empire. The largest campaign was against Khwarezm, the Khwarezmian Empire. Sultan Muhammad had seized Mongol trade caravans and killed an envoy, which Genghis Khan regarded as an act of war. In 1219, he led a massive army into Central Asia. Joining him were his sons, Jochi, Chagatai, Gede, and Tolui, and together they besieged major cities such as Samarkand, Bukhara, and Urgench. The Mongols employed psychological warfare, siege tactics, and destruction of irrigation systems to crush Khwarezm. Sultan Muhammad fled and eventually died by the Caspian Sea. During the Khwarezm campaign, Subutai and Jib distinguished themselves. Pursuing forces into Persia and the Caucasus, they defeated the Georgian and Armenian armies, and reached the northern Caspian. From there, they advanced into the Russian steppe, defeating the combined forces of Russian princes and Kipchaks at the Battle of the Kalka River in 1223. These victories spread fear of the Mongols throughout Europe, and Subutai and Jib returned with immense plunder. The campaign showcased Mongol speed, endurance, and strategic brilliance. These conquests brought enormous spoils, artisans, and cultural treasures, secured the Silk Road, and promoted trade and exchange. Genghis Khan granted clemency and tribute obligations to compliant states, while severely punishing resisting ones and destroying cities, demonstrating both his wisdom and ruthless side. This chapter vividly illustrates Mongol military tactics, mobility, logistics, psychological warfare, and siegecraft. It highlights Genghis Khan's leadership, the achievements of his generals, and the rapid expansion of the empire. The campaigns against Western Xia, the capture of Beijing, the sieges in Khwarezm, the Battle of the Kalka River, and the enormous plunder all feature prominently. Chapter 11 is one of the greatest military sections of the secret history of the Mongols, portraying Genghis Khan's power that changed the course of world history. Following these campaigns, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, and the stage was set for Genghis Khan's final great campaigns. Chapter 12 is the final chapter of the secret history of the Mongols, narrating the last years of Genghis Khan's life, his final campaign against Western Xia, the legendary accounts of his death, the guidance he gave to his family, the appointment of his successor, the secret of his burial, and the immense legacy he left behind. This chapter continues from the previous campaigns, providing a deep depiction of the conclusion of Genghis Khan's life and the succession of his empire. After his campaigns against Khwarezm and the Jin dynasty, Genghis Khan did not stop. He considered Western Xia Tangut to have been treacherous, despite previously surrendering, and decided to launch a final campaign in 1226. Genghis Khan personally led his army, traveling with his sons, and laid siege to Tangut cities and fortresses. The battles were fierce. Emperor Li Shan pledged surrender, but Genghis Khan had planned to completely destroy them. During the campaign, he is said to have fallen from his horse and been seriously injured, though some sources suggest he became ill. Even while recovering, he ordered his generals, "Should I die, continue this campaign and destroy Western Xia. In the summer of 1227, Genghis Khan passed away at the age of approximately 65. The cause of death is legendary, either from a fall from his horse or from illness. Before his death, Genghis Khan spoke at length with his sons Joki, Chagatai, Gede, and Tolui. Sharing his great wisdom, he urged them, "Stay united. Love one another, strengthen the empire. Do not forget revenge, but act justly and reward the worthy." He divided his inheritance and lands. Joki received the northwest, the Kipchak steppe. Chagatai received Central Asia. Gede received the central Mongolian lands. Tolui received the heartland of Mongolia. Gede was appointed his successor, securing the imperial succession. Genghis Khan's burial was shrouded in secrecy. He is said to have been interred on Burkhan Khaldan mountain, and those who took part in the burial were killed to keep the location secret. Horses trampled the site, trees were planted, and the location was hidden. To this day, the burial place remains unknown. During the funeral, the people mourned deeply, and the nobles swore allegiance to the new emperor. After his death, Genghis Khan's orders were carried out. Western Xia was completely destroyed, and Emperor Li Shan and his clan were killed. This was Genghis Khan's final act of vengeance. By the time of his death, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, and later generations would expand it even further. Genghis Khan left an extraordinary legacy. He unified the tribes, codified the Great Yasa Law, created a new military system, introduced writing, secured trade routes such as the Silk Road, promoted cultural exchange, and built an empire that changed world history. Though ruthless in war, he was also just, wise, courageous, rewarded merit, and granted religious freedom. Genetic studies suggest that millions today are descended from him, demonstrating the profound impact of his life. This chapter vividly portrays Genghis Khan's final words of advice. The organization of his family, the secret burial, the grief surrounding his death, and the succession of his empire. His death brought deep mourning to the Mongols, but with Gede on the throne, the empire continued to grow stronger. Chapter 12 marks the conclusion of the secret history, depicting the sorrowful yet magnificent end of Genghis Khan's life. It reveals his character completely: strict yet just, courageous yet wise, ruthless yet merciful, and illustrates the enduring legacy that became a source of pride for the Mongols. The secret history of the Mongols ends here, and the name of Genghis Khan remains eternal in history.